And that's the last time that I saw him that summer until in September. When I went back up to the Lacoste site in September, I went over just a few miles away to pick up my tent. Now, I didn't know at this time that my tent had been featured in a video, and that it was claimed that it had been destroyed. I just thought that I had left it up there at the Forbes place, and when I went by that Brenda would, when I knocked on the door of the Forbes house, that Brenda would be there. And instead, Brenda wasn't there. In fact, a lot of construction had gone on. That big covered screen porch had been built on the back, and that wasn't Brenda. It was Linda, and she had a real quizzical look on her face. And I said, "Well, I'm surprised to see you." I think she was surprised to see me, and she said, "Well, come in here. I trust the boys are all right." And I said, "Yeah, I came by to get my tent." And she said, the boys will be down here for supper in a minute. Here, come on in." And so I came in. But when Pete came in, Pete was very unsettled to meet me, act like he didn't know how to handle it. And then he said, "Well, just a second, we've got to go in this other room and talk." And so he pulled me away from the people who were coming down the mountainside, like he didn't want me to see them. And he pulled me in a back room, and he said, "Joe's trying to ruin me." I said, "What do you mean Joe's trying to ruin me?" "He's trying to ruin my boys." He said, he's just saying just terrible things about us. And I hope that you can, as if somehow that I can help him. I said, "Pete, I don't have any idea what you're talking about." I said, "I just come over here to get my tent." And Jordan was with me, and my wife Phyllis was with me. And Phyllis stayed talking to him in the other room, and Jordan was talking to the boys about pictures that different ones had taken with their camera in the spring. They wanted to get some pictures, swap pictures and that sort of thing. And well, Pete just gave me this big long deal, these charges against Joe, and I said, "Pete, I've known Joe for years, and if this was, I can't imagine, what you're talking about." I said, "I suggest you two sit down and hammer it out. Joe's a very reasonable man." I said, "Joe will be here, and I suggest you sit down and talk to him." He said, "We've had a lot of words. Joe's, and
did you know that?
I said, "I'd like to have my tent." He said, "We're going to be on the hillside here, and I need some shade." He said, "Your tent's been thrown away a long time ago. It's been totally destroyed and thrown away." He said, "The storm got it and destroyed it." And I said, "If you've got the poles," I said, "just anything." I said, "We're up here without any protection on this hillside, and I really want any part of it you've got." I said, "It's just gone, Dave. You can't. There's nothing we can give you. We threw it all away." We started we did the entire dig without a tent. I had some tarps together to get a little shelter. Until you've worked on that mountainside up in that raw sunshine without a tent, you don't realize how much you have better photography with a white tent. Everything just works better if you can protect yourself from the wind and weather. Toward the end of the dig, Dana Forbes came over with Brenda, and I was telling him that I was sure surprised to come to your house. He says, "Yeah, things have changed a lot this summer." He didn't say much more than that. Very friendly. They stayed for supper that night. I said, "Boy, I'd sure like to have my tent back." She says, "Oh, I know where your tent is." And I said, "Well, the DeRosas told me that my tents were ruined." She says, "No, I know where they're at." And so my wife went over that evening while I was busy with the crew, getting everybody assorted. I think my wife went over the next day, and sure enough, I got all my tents back, and we put them up and used them. There were some bent posts, but there was no torn canopy. It was certainly not destroyed, and in fact, I use the tent right now. The tent is still in service, and I've never had to make any repairs to it. They're not torn. They're not destroyed. It was just an untruth. He just didn't want to give me back my tent.
Do you recall where the tents were located?
They were on the site within easy access. They were where the DeRosas had put them. Just so happens the Forbes knew where they were at too. He was just dishonest. Also, he told some people later on that I agreed with him. That I was on his side. And basically he did everything he could to keep me in the dark. I wasn't on his, I'm always on the side of being friendly to people until I know there's something wrong. I didn't know what they were alleging. You know, it's not uncommon for brothers to disagree. And I've been a church elder and a deacon all my life. I've dealt with a lot of people who had disagreements, but usually there's a way to solve it.